Hello everyone and welcome back to Coach Craig Sports. Today I'm going to be doing some of my NFL draft grade videos. So this one's going to be for the AFC South, going to be breaking down each team, each pick, giving them a letter grade. The letter grades for the actual picks, they're just going to be A, B, C, D, F. No pluses or minuses, but the overall grade may have a plus or minus if I felt one was needed. Originally, I was going to put some of the undrafted players in this as well, just mention the ones that I did like that some of these teams did sign. But I did make a thread on Twitter about the undrafted free agents for each team, kind of guys that I think have a chance of making the team. And just kind of going from there, a little bit of an explanation about them. So if you guys are interested in that, definitely be sure to check that out on Twitter at CoachCraigSport. If you guys are very interested in that, be sure to let me know and I'll get you the direct link to that. But we're going to start with my favorite team, and that's the Houston Texans. And it was an interesting draft, didn't have a pick till the third round. And then they ended up trading away a couple picks, trading up for some guys. So they only ended up with 5 picks here. So the first pick was quarterback Davis Mills out of Stanford. And this was a pick that I really didn't like. I'm giving it a D grade. Quarterback, kind of a position of need, with Deshaun Watson in limbo now. But Davis Mills, this is a guy I had like a 7th round grade on. If you guys watched my top 10 quarterback video going into the draft, definitely a guy that was not in there. Very raw, only 11 career starts at Stanford. Sometimes he looks okay, like looking off the safeties and stuff like that. Doesn't have the greatest arm strength in the world. Kind of late at processing stuff, so more of a project more than anything. And if the Texans are going to be as bad as most people think they are going to be this year, they're probably going to end up with one of the top picks in next year's draft, so you're just going to pick a quarterback then anyway. So it seems kind of just like a waste of a pick here either way. Then with the second pick, they traded up for Nico Collins, the wide receiver out of Michigan. And I gave this pick a B. Nico Collins was somebody I did like a decent amount in this draft. I feel like there was a couple other wide receivers I probably would have taken ahead of him at this point in the draft. But, other than Brandon Cooks, Randall Cobb, there's not really much else on the team in terms of wide receivers. So I think a B grade is fine here. Then they didn't have a pick again until the 5th round, and that was Brevin Jordan out of Miami, tight end. Tight end was definitely an area of need for the Texans. So I did give this pick an A. A lot of people thought Brevin Jordan probably be like a day 2 pick, and getting him in the 5th round seems like some pretty good value there. Obviously, he needs to develop a little bit more in terms of like blocking and stuff like that, but he's definitely better than guys like Jordan Akins and some of these other guys we already have on the roster. And then the other 5th round pick that they did have was Garrett Wallow, linebacker at TCU. Kind of a developmental linebacker, special teamer to start off with. They did trade up for this pick. I think he's probably a guy you could have gotten in the 6th round anyway, so I didn't think you needed to trade up for him. So I did give this pick a C just because it's kind of a slight reach and trading up to get him. Then last but not least, they had Roy Lopez, defensive tackle out of Arizona. A guy that I wasn't too high on coming into the draft, probably like 7th round pick, undrafted free agent. So taking him here, pretty early on in the 6th round seems like a kind of a reach, but it was a position of need. So I did give it a C. The overall grade that I do have for the Texans is a C+. They addressed some of the areas of need, but that Davis Mills pick really put them behind the 8 ball. Brevin Jordan was a very good pick. Nico Collins could be a very good pick. And then Wallow and Lopez, kind of slight reaches, but not bad picks by any means. So next we're going to get over to the Jacksonville Jaguars, who obviously most notably had the number 1 overall pick in this draft, which was pretty much a no-brainer pick in the minds of most people with Trevor Lawrence. So that's an A pick there, obviously. Then the 25th overall pick, they went with his teammate Travis Etienne out of Clemson, running back. A lot of people didn't like this pick, honestly, because, James Robinson had that breakout year as an undrafted free agent last year. I do like this pick, though. It adds a little bit more oomph to their offense. Definitely a different dynamic than a James Robinson does. He's a very talented running back, so I did give this pick an A as well. There probably could have been a little bit better pick, but still a very good player nonetheless. Then Tyson Campbell at the beginning of the 2nd round. Interesting pick, corner that I really did like out of Georgia. I gave this pick a B because they didn't really need to go corner here. They brought back Sidney Jones. They drafted C.J. Henderson last year. And they brought in Shaq Griffin from the Seahawks as well. So don't really need a 4th corner, but definitely a guy that I like, a guy that you can kind of take your time with, develop, and can be a very good corner at the NFL level. Then the other 2nd round pick they had was Walker Little out of Stanford. Offensive tackle that had missed quite a bit of time due to an ACL tear and then opting out last year for COVID. So kind of a little bit of a project there. We'll see if he works out or not. But, at this point in time, not the worst pick in the world. I did give this pick a B as well. I thought there was a couple other tackles maybe that I took ahead of Walker Little here. But there's definitely some talent there and some upside if he is able to hit it. Then at the beginning of the third round, they picked Andre Sisco, a safety that I really did love out of Syracuse. I gave this pick an A. He's coming off an ACL tear as well, so a little bit of injury concern there. But if he gets back to anything close to what he was and develops maybe just a little bit more as a player, this is going to be a home run pick, so that's why I gave this an A. Then at the beginning of the fourth round, they went with Jay Tufele out of USC, defensive tackle. Not the biggest need since they did have a lot of defensive linemen this offseason, but, a guy that can come in, probably, a guy that I probably thought would have won a couple picks earlier, but not a bad pick by any means. So I did give that pick a B. Jordan Smith, edge rusher out of UAB. So going into the draft, there was a lot of buzz that he was falling, and he went in the fourth round still, so it's kind of a slight reach for me. C is the grade that I did give this. Maybe a guy that develops into something, but I don't see too much there with him overall. And then in the fifth round, this is probably one of the biggest reaches of the entire NFL draft, and that was Luke Farrell, tight end out of Ohio State. This was an Urban Meyer pick. Obviously, he recruited Luke Farrell to Ohio State. Definitely not one of the top tight ends in this class, not top 10 even. A guy that was probably a seventh round pick, undrafted free agent, and you're taking him here at the beginning of the fifth round. That's honestly just too big of a reach, so we'll see how he turns out. He could be okay for them, but he's never going to be anything that's really exciting at the NFL level or for fantasy football as well. So that Luke Farrell pick, I did give a D. I didn't give it an F because it was a position in need. If it wasn't a position in need, I definitely would have given an F, though. And then last pick that they did have was Jalen Camp out of Georgia Tech. A guy that really killed it in his pro day. Didn't have a lot of production at Georgia Tech just because they are a run-heavy team, so we'll see how he transitions to the NFL level. If nothing else, maybe a guy that can contribute on special teams right away and hopefully develop into a wide receiver or something. But, overall, it was a pretty good draft for the Jacksonville Jaguars. I did give them a B+ overall. They got some really good players. They filled some areas of need. They probably could have filled a couple more areas of need. They had about, probably 2 reaches in there, but a pretty solid overall draft altogether. Then we'll move over to the Indianapolis Colts, and they had kind of an interesting draft overall. So they started off with Kwity Paye, defensive end out of Michigan. This was an A pick. I thought, it really addressed a position of need. Pretty good value. A lot of people are talking Kwity Paye, top 15 pick. They got him, at number 21, so pretty good value there as well. Guy that's probably going to plug and play right away for them and replace that Justin Houston role on their defense overall. Then in the second round, they went with Dio, and I'm not going to try to pronounce his last name. I'm going to butcher it, I know that. Out of Vanderbilt. He's a very talented kid, but he's also coming off an Achilles injury as well. So we're not sure how much he's going to play right away this year. Probably a guy that you could get in the third or fourth round, so it was a little bit of a reach there. They drafted a defensive end already in the first round, so I gave this pick a C overall. Thought they would have been better off going off, like with an offensive tackle or something like that. Then they went Kylan Granson out of SMU, the tight end, in the fourth round. I think this is a pretty decent pick. I like Kylan Granson a decent amount. I gave this pick a B. I think it definitely fits what they want to do with that tight end role. He's going to come in and replace Trey Burton right away, maybe play some slot like he played that bigger slot in college as well. Definitely a guy that could have some value down the road. And then in the fifth round, they went Sean Davis out of Florida, safety. I gave this pick a C. I think he's not going to be anything more in the special teamer or depth unless something really changes. So I don't think that was the greatest pick in the world. I think is a little bit of a reach, but not something that you're going to knock too much overall. Then they went Sam Ehlinger out of Texas in the sixth round, a quarterback. They already have Carson Wentz. They already have Jacob Eason that they drafted last year in the fourth round. So I'm not sure what they're going to do with Sam Ehlinger. Maybe he doesn't play quarterback. Maybe he plays a different position, whether it's tight end, Taysom Hill role maybe. Definitely be interesting to see how they use him or if he's just that third quarterback. I gave this pick, a C. Just there wasn't too much there to write home about, honestly. It's just kind of a weird pick overall. And then the 2 7th-round picks they had was Mike Scratchen, and he's out of Charleston, West Virginia, which is a Division II school. Put up some pretty big numbers there. Very interesting guy, like 6'5", like 225, ran pretty well, jumps pretty well as well. So guy that in the 7th round, you're looking for that project wide receiver that could turn into something. Definitely worth taking a shot on there. So I did give that pick a B. And then Will Fries out of Penn State, the offensive tackle. They finally went offensive tackle here. They needed one a lot earlier. I know since then they signed Eric Fisher, who's also coming off Achilles injury. But, maybe you develop Fries into something. Maybe he can be a swing tackle or a depth piece. So I did give this pick a B just because it is an area of need, but the prospect overall himself is nothing I'm too excited about. But with that being said, the overall grade that I do have for the Indianapolis Colts is a C+. I feel like they addressed some of the areas of need, but they didn't really have that great of a draft. Kind of some developmental guys here, a couple reaches. That Sam Ehlinger pick was just kind of weird, but it wasn't a bad draft, but it wasn't an overly good draft either. And then last but not least, for the teams in the AFC South, we have the Tennessee Titans. And they started off their draft with Caleb Farley out of Virginia Tech. Obviously, going into the draft, Caleb Farley was one of the best corners. He's dealing with some back injuries that have haunted him now. It's similar to the back injuries Tony Romo had that kind of ended his career early. He's already had surgery twice on it. I don't remember which podcast I was listening, but they had a doctor on there and they said, once you have this surgery, you have a 20% chance of having the same injury once again. And he's already had the surgery twice. So this could be an issue that lingers on for most of his NFL career, especially with a violent sport such as football. It's a little bit of a risk here, but the talent is so much, and getting him at 22 overall when he could have been a top 10 pick, definitely a lot of value there, and the Titans have kind of been known to take chances on guys like this. So I did give this Caleb Farley pick an A. I think it was area of need for the Titans, definitely taking a chance on a high upside player, so I can't say too much about that there. Then in the second round, they went with Dylan Raduns out of North Dakota State, offensive tackle. Obviously, Isaiah Wilson didn't work out last year. Dylan Raduns could plug and play right away at right tackle. Proven winner. Had a lot of success at the Senior Bowl as well. So definitely a guy that I like here. I did give this pick an A. I think even, if Taylor Lewan is not back from his injury right away, he could plug and play at left tackle if you need him to do so as well. So definitely a great pick there. So they started off the draft really, really nicely. Then the third round, they went Monty Rice out of Georgia. I know some NFL people were kind of a little bit higher on him than, some of us in the Twitter community, on the YouTube community and stuff like that. Probably a couple linebackers that were better than him remaining at this point in time. But, a very smart player, leader of a Georgia defense. Kind of plug in, be maybe that inside linebacker 2 right away. Not sure what his ceiling is overall, but an interesting pick. Kind of fits the position in need, but not really at the same time either, too. So I did give this pick a C. I don't think it was anything too special. Then their other third-round pick that they did have, they picked Elijah Molden out of Washington. Guy that's probably going to plug and play right away in the slot for them. Has some versatility to play safety as well. So I did give that pick an A, just because, it addresses a lot of their secondary needs. Their defense really needed some help overall. Then in the beginning of the fourth round, they went Dez Fitzpatrick out of Louisville. Obviously, wide receiver was a need. Not the biggest fan of Dez Fitzpatrick myself, but there are some people out there that did like him overall. I did give this pick a C. There's just better value on the board than Dez Fitzpatrick, so hopefully it fits in their offense, but I could see them picking a wide receiver again next year, and it probably wouldn't surprise me one bit. Then towards the end of the third round, they went with Rashad Weaver out of Pitt, defensive end. I think they said they're going to play him at outside linebacker now, but he's a guy that I did like a lot coming into the pre-draft process. I thought he was a guy that could kind of plug and play right away. He might not have the upside of some of these other edge rushers, but, a solid guy that's had a lot of success at the college level. There was some rumors that he did fall due to a pending assault charge, so that's kind of why he fell down in the NFL draft. We'll see whether or not that story's real or not. There's been some rumors that the story wasn't even real, but we'll just have to see. So I did give that pick an A overall because it was a good value. And if all his off-the-field stuff is not true, then, it's going to be a great value as well. Then in the sixth round, they went with Racey McMath, wide receiver out of LSU. Guy that I didn't even think should have been drafted, and they picked him in the sixth round. So I'd definitely give that pick a D. I don't think he's going to turn into much of anything at the NFL level. A lot of people just say he's kind of a special teamer, but we'll just have to see what happens with him. And then last but not least, Brady Breeze out of Oregon, safety. Kind of an interesting prospect, but probably a guy that's going to be a special teams guy, depth piece more than anything. So I did give that pick a B. Kind of a little bit of an area need, but not the best pick in the world, not the worst pick in the world either. So can't really knock him too much for picking him there. I think that's probably about where he should have went. Decent fit for their team, for their defense overall as well. But like I said, probably a special teamer and a depth piece more than anything at this point in time. But with that being said, the overall grade that I did have for the Tennessee Titans was a B+, so they had a pretty good draft as well. Didn't have too many reaches here. Dez Fitzpatrick was a little bit of a reach. Racey McMath was a guy I thought that shouldn't have been drafted. Monty Rice was a little bit of a reach, but overall they had some solid value elsewhere, so really made up for it regardless. But with that being said, these are my draft grades for the 4 teams in the AFC South. the Tennessee Titans, the Jacksonville Jaguars, the Houston Texans, and the Indianapolis Colts. Hopefully you guys all enjoyed this. If you guys have any other opinions, if your grades differ a little bit from me, love to hear it down in the comments. Definitely want to communicate with you guys back and forth, see what you guys are thinking, see how your team fared, if one of your favorite teams is a team in the AFC South as well. And with that being said, if you guys are new to my channel, please consider subscribing. Definitely would appreciate it. It definitely helps build the community that we're trying to build here at Coach Craig Sports. And that's truly one for you, the viewers, helping you guys with your DFS, whether it's NBA or NFL. Did a lot of NBA this current season. Not really too big into the NBA playoff DFS. If you guys are interested in that at all, you're watching this, definitely be sure to leave a comment down below. We can play some of the bigger games, or we can play some of the bigger days as well. Helping you guys with your fantasy football teams overall, talking all the different football news this offseason. I know it took a while to get some of these NFL draft grades out, but I'm going to be doing all the other teams in the AFC as well. Then I'll move over to the NFC and kind of break it down over there as well. But with that being said, if you are new or current subscribers yet to do so, also hit that notification bell down below. It's going to let you know every single time I post up a new video. I kind of took like a week or so off now, but I'm back at making some of these videos, these NFL draft grades. Going to be going through some fantasy football as well, some dynasty stuff, looking at my rookie mock drafts, how I can, just kind of breaking them down, telling you my thought process as I made some picks. And then I'm in a startup draft right now. I'm going to try to get a couple different people from that draft as well, kind of talk about how they went about the draft in terms of dynasty, and just kind of go from there, just trying to help you guys out as best I can. If there's anything you'd like to see at all on this channel, especially in the off season before we get into the season, definitely be sure to let me know. I'm working on a lot of different things right now. Over at True North Fantasy Football, we're working on a how-to series very similar to the Fantasy Football 101 series that I had when my channel first started, except it's more written content. So I'm going to be working a lot on articles there as well. So if you guys are interested in that, definitely be sure to check that out. I can let you know when that is up as well. But with that being said, that's all I have for today's video. Hopefully you guys all enjoyed. And last but not least, I truly appreciate you guys taking the time out of your day to watch this video. It definitely means a lot to me, and I hope each and every one of you has a great rest of your day.